It's in the thumbnail, you already know what you clicked here for. Nine Souls is genuinely one of the most underrated games I've ever played. I found myself coming back to this game and replaying the boss fights quite a bit, especially Yingzhao. One of the best last boss fights I've probably fought in a game, but we'll get to that later. This game, in its basic form, is a Metroidvania with Sekiro combat. The obvious comparison is Hollow Knight, right? Since the general design feels somewhat similar, but I think Hollow Knight has a large focus on its level design and world, whereas Nine Souls has a lot more focus on combat aspects. The level design is still pretty good in this game though. I often tell people to play this game if they were looking for a Metroidvania which isn't Hollow Knight or Silksong, as I believe it is on a similar level to them in terms of quality. Now, what do I think makes this game underrated? Well, it has around 800k sales as of mid-2025, and while that is a crazy number, I think it deserves more. Let's start with the story. With these types of games, they're usually insanely lore-rich, with a show-don't-tell kind of story. Now, the Nine Souls kind of does both. You can clearly see the show-don't-tell elements with its environment, but you also have the conflict between Yi, who is the main character, and the other souls of the game, which are the main bosses, and he clearly has different relationships with each one. I think it's quite nice having the story elements between Yi and the bosses. It definitely enhances the characters and their own personalities a lot, so it makes them stand out quite well as characters and bosses, and their movesets reflect their personalities pretty well. Speaking of bosses, I'm gonna bait you and say I want to talk about the boss fights last, because I think the boss fights are like one of the big talking points of the game, so save the best for last kind of thing. Now, let's talk music. I'm not some music entrepreneur or something where I can explain the reasoning behind every note in a song, but I have a pretty strong gut instinct on why I think some songs are better than others and what kind of emotions they evoke, stuff like that. This game really hits you hard with not only its boss themes, but the also just general ambience and exploration themes. The main theme of the game, it has like a simple beauty to it. Like it's literally just a flute with some other instruments behind it, but yet it sounds really beautiful in a way. And when you beat the game, you get a remix version of it that also hits really hard. There's this combat encounter in the game. It's like during a quest where you basically have to defend a village. And it drops you like one of the most banging combat OSTs in the game just out of nowhere. Like there was zero reason they had to cook this hard here, but they just did. And then you have the boss OSTs, which are very memorable. The most notable ones would be like Lady, Ethereal, Yingzhao, and G, in my opinion. They all go so hard, and even Yi has his own OST as well, that is just such a banger. And oh fuck me man, the credits theme, literally, I think it's literally just called Nine Souls. It's by a band called Collage, and it's genuinely one of the best credit themes I've ever heard in the game. Such a banger. I'd say listen to it after you've beaten the game though, because it hits way harder that way. Genuinely, the game is just filled with bangers. Okay, so what about the general combat in the game? It's basically just a simple 2D version of Sekiro. The key combat flow is basically you attack, enemy attacks, you parry the current combo, then you talisman the enemy. The talisman is basically a move where you dash through the enemy, placing a talisman on them, which you need to detonate by holding the button down. However, it can be interrupted, so it's better to wait until the enemy has stopped attacking, and then you just place it and boom, big damage. You also get a bow, which slows down time a lot on firing, and can be pretty good at interrupting attacks. I believe it also gives you iframes. It's a very simple combat flow, but it feels very satisfying when you get good at it, and they designed the boss and enemies insanely well around it. You also have skill points in a charm system, kind of like Hollow Knight, which will allow you to buff up and change the way some mechanics work in combat. So you can change up your playstyle a little bit. I like using a set where I deal damage to myself when attacking, but I can transfer my self damage onto the enemy when I apply talisman on them. So as long as I don't get hurt, I deal huge damage. So it's risk reward sort of playstyle. Is it finally time to address the bosses? No, let's talk art and animation real quick. So as you can probably see from the boss fights, the game is mega pretty and the animation feels pretty flawless. I'm pretty sure they use a system which rigs 2D models so it kind of moves like 3D in a way, and it feels very satisfying to play with. But yeah, the animations feel really good in boss fights, and the way everything looks in this game is fantastic. The general style, it clashes Taoism with cyberpunk, so it gives a robotic Eastern fantasy feel to the game. The environments are all hand-drawn, from what I know, kind of like Hollow Knight. One thing I also want to mention is that each boss fight has these awesome manga cutscenes before and after the fight, and it really hypes up the boss fight. Like, I'm surprised no other game has done something like this. Like, well, I guess they have with cutscenes, right? But I think it's a really good way to replace the budget of animating a cutscene in like an indie game, I suppose. Or maybe it just fits the style really well. But yeah, this game is just amazing when it comes to artistic vision. Okay, boss fight time, finally. The most memorable parts of the game. The boss fight. Just like its inspiration, Sekiro, the boss fights in this game are absolute peak. I'm sure if you ask anyone about the boss fights in this game, they'll probably mention Aigong, Ji, Lady Ethereal, Ji Quan, Fuxi, maybe even Yingzhao as well. They're generally all bangers of fights. I'm not joking when I say that the main boss fights in this game, they're all just peak. Now, I will say, Gao Mang, I don't know how you pronounce her name, she's a bit of a letdown, but at the same time, I think it kind of reflects her personality and character very well. But yeah, the other boss fights, bangers. As I said at the start, I find myself replaying a lot of the bosses in this game. It has a mode where you can basically replay any main boss you want. Now, if you want me to talk about the best ones, I think Aigong and Lady Ethereal are the best. You can maybe put Ji or Ji Kwang up there as well. Lady Ethereal is interesting, because she's kind of like a gimmick fight, but done extremely well. You basically have to fight clones of her to find out which one is the real her, and then just beat it up. But it's done quite well, because they're all relatively close together, with easy ways to reach an attack, and it's very satisfying to parry them. So it's not really too frustrating when you fight it, but damn, it really did wore me a bit on first playthrough. G is sick, because he's a ranged boss, right? But he's not like toxic, it's very easy to reach him, and he has a lot of downtime, especially if you talisman him, so it doesn't even really feel bad. Like, you just parry every range attack he does and then attack him. He also has a mechanic where you need to hit him at a precise time to choose what attack he does next, which is pretty cool, because it can make the fight harder or easier depending on what you manage to do. And then you have Aigong, which is basically 2D Sword Saint Ishin. A fucking masterclass of a final boss, which really tests everything you learn about the game. It kind of walls people, but it's right at the end of the game, so I don't think it like bothers them too much. If anything, it inspires you to beat the boss. It's like your final rival in the game, who is your teacher, and they're testing everything you've learned. It has amazing music and animation, a really sick arena, and it basically just keeps you on your toes all the time. It's truly a peak boss fight. I've actually been trying to get a no-hit run on Aigong recently. I managed to get like a pseudo no-hit run, which is basically Aigong didn't land a single direct blow on me, but I didn't perfect parry everything, so I still took some internal damage. So I'm slowly getting there. Okay, what's bad with the game? I think the side content of the game is a bit lacking. There's some side bosses, but I wouldn't really say they're very memorable. There's also a general lack of side quests anyway, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But like, some people love side content. But at the same time though, to get the true ending, you gotta do some of the side stuff anyway. So it kind of feels like main content in that regard, but it lacks the quality of the true main content. It's also got a Dark Souls thing, where you can't teleport around the map until you get the Lord Vessel equivalent in this game. And even then, you have to teleport back to the main hub to teleport to another location, which can get kind of annoying at times. I think they did it so you don't miss dialogue and optional stuff in the hub. And the game doesn't have too much replayability out of boss rematch. Like, you can technically do things in a different order, but it's not on the level of something like Hollow Knight on Dark Souls in that regard. Though there could be some crazy mods out there maybe. Truthfully, I don't think there's much bad in the game that would stop someone from playing it, but there's definitely some small frustrations. Okay, overall, you already know my opinion. Underrated game, go play it. Something else to note is that the game isn't expensive for the quality you receive. Definitely something to look out for if you're struggling like paycheck to paycheck or some other situation that just messes you up budget wise. I got the game for £25 I think, and it goes on sale quite a lot now, so you could definitely get it for cheaper. And your first playthrough can range from like 20 to 30 hours, so definitely worth it in my opinion. Trust me dudes, this game is sick. Thanks for watching. I may do more of these for games I really like, just to like sort of gush about them a bit. It's like an autistic rant kind of thing. Let me know if you got any cool suggestions for indie games to try out and maybe review, see if I love them. Stay safe, and I'll catch you later. Peace.